Hi everyone and welcome to Pixels, a podcast for the discerning gamer. Hello everyone and welcome back to Pixels. This is a show where we cover the news from the video games industry every couple of weeks or so. That's what we usually do, but of course now we're reaching the end of the year and we have to do our wrap-up show. And there is so many things to talk about that we decided to have a giant cast of fantastic co-hosts to accompany me. And I said we, I meant the royal we. I decided because I'm the decider on this show. I'm Patrick Beja, and let me welcome my co-hosts. We have the first of all, Ed Mitchell, who's with me very often. How are you doing, Ed?
I'm doing great. I think this might be too much of a dictatorship, though. I think we should revolt.
Right.
Mutiny.
You know, I have a very bad cultural memories of mutiny and revolts and revolutions. I want to keep my head, so you guys can decide, actually. That's bad precedent to set. Second of the mutineers is Scott Johnson. How's it going,
hello, Patrick. It's a pleasure, always a pleasure to be on Pixels, the show named after the best movie Hollywood ever made. Well done.
You know,
good job.
I really welcome the idea and the day that at some point in the future, in the far future, you will not make that joke about this.
Should have gotten that trademark, man. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I was here before. Right. And, just like, If Microsoft can get some kind of protection on Windows, surely a pixel can be, something that I can protect as well. John, what do you think?
I think that I'm happy to be here and that I'm the late career Adam Sandler of the group. Hi, everybody.
It's John Jagger. Yay! Welcome, John. Thank you for being on the show. It's your first time on the show.
It is.
And I'm keeping the best for last. Jocelyn Moffat is joining us as well. Woohoo!
Aw, thanks, Patrick.
I'm very glad to have you back. So you were telling me that you made a huge effort of going to bed as early as possible, and that meant you could wake up early enough to do the show, but it's still very hard for you to be up
struggle.
at what? It's like 10 a.m. your time?
It's 10.
Man.
Wow.
Of a podcaster / streamer, man. It's rough.
I did it, though. I made it to bed by 3:30. I was so good.
Oh, nice. Me too.
I'm very honored and proud that you made that.
I was staying up
us.
watching Death Note instead of going to bed, so that's why I stayed
the
till
movie?
3 a.m.
Apparently it's not very
No, the show.
Anime? Okay.
The anime, yeah.
Probably better. I have to watch that anime.
I heard the show was all right. They're the live action thing.
That's you should not be saying that, Scott. That is not what people who have any kind of sense should be hearing. Or, maybe look at your friends another time and reevaluate. Because that's not what I'm hearing.
The only experience I have with Death Note is when they replace that guy with the apple and the pen, but with the Death Note guy. Have you seen that? Where the pineapple pineapple, or whatever, that guy dancing, doing his little dance, the weird meme guy. They use the Death Note guy instead, and that's it. That's all I know. So I have zero.
So I understand that you're
anyone,
hearing good
Anyone
things.
knows what you're talking about?
No, I no idea.
I'm going to put it in this Discord channel later, and you all can enjoy it the way I did, which is...
I'm certain we will. So we're going to be covering the games that we enjoyed, but no transition. We're going to be covering the games that we enjoyed the most throughout this year. We don't have necessarily a ranked top. It's just going to be our favorite games. And before we do that, I do have a couple of tiny little tidbits of notes, of news actually, that I do want to cover. The first one is something, I'm until the end of the year, we'll have had to talk about loot boxes, but this is pretty big. So as much as I would like not to talk about loot boxes, I'm going to swallow up my pride and do it one last time, because Apple has changed their terms of use for developers and specified that if you want to get a game or basically any kind of application on the App Store, you must disclose the odds of receiving anything in loot boxes before the purchase takes place. And that is a little bit, well, it's surprising that Apple would do this, but I think it might actually create a precedent that will set the tone for the entire industry. I think they've delivered the final. Well, I'm not certain, but I think they might have delivered the final verdict on loot boxes, and it might propagate to the rest of the industry as well. You're going to have to indicate. So we're not sure if you have to mention it before every single purchase, but it has to be somewhere. And if it is somewhere, then it will surface
in the store, right?
Yeah.
It's significant in the sense that it's the App Store, and people forget that this loot box controversy that we're all having in the console and PC world now really has its roots in mobile, or certainly that's where it was propagated the most. And
yeah, it's the core of that monetization method for sure.
Sure. So it is kind of going at the root a little bit. I don't know, you could argue the damage is done, and maybe this doesn't make that big of a difference at this point, but I'm very curious to see the actual effect over time of this. It's a curious.
Yeah, people are clamoring for the Android store to do the same thing, the Google Play Store to do the same thing. So if
I think it's going to propagate,
if it turns out being successful, I think that it'll be interesting for those of you that go into the store to actually buy a physical version of something. It maybe the ESRB will start putting it on the actual box, which would be interesting.
Oh yeah, imagine that! Wow.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if we got to a place like that. We already know,
right? Just to stop, like the ESRB, just to stop people from, like, lawyers, or not lawyers, but lawmakers from passing laws.
Yeah. I think now that Apple has basically not shown the way, but made a precedent, it's very easy to imagine that it would spread to the rest of the industry, because there's something you can point to and go, well, they're doing it, why aren't you? And I've always said, I think this, I've said a few times, I thought this was where we were going to end up, and I never thought that a ban on loot boxes was any kind of realistic, but I'm surprised it's coming from there, and I think Apple might have been the catalyst that is creating this, but we'll see.
Well, and I think if it waylays people's concerns, then that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a testament to me being a bad consumer or a good consumer, but for me personally, it could pop up and say, hey, John, I know you're about to buy that loot box, but you've got a 0.27% chance of getting what you want in it. I mean, at that point, I've already committed. I'm going to do it.
I don't know. I think it might stop some people, but
I think it might be good for
people.
parental controls, right?
Joss, what did you say?
I said I think it's definitely going to stop some people, and I really liked your point about the whole idea of it propagating over to the kind of more traditional gaming industry. And I think the company that's probably going to get hit by this as like the biggest, most traditional type game company is probably actually going to be Blizzard, because Hearthstone is huge on mobile.
Yeah.
And if they have to, on mobile say you have a 0.05% chance of opening a legendary in each pack, then I think, that's going to, obviously Reddit's going to jump all over that. And then once they have to do it in one Blizzard game, then I think the communities are going to call for it to go into the other Blizzard games. Then you're going to see Overwatch and Heroes have to do it. And from there, I think the precedent is going to be set in the more mainstream, larger companies. So I think that this is actually really huge.
Yeah.
Assuming that they say that card packs are loot boxes, which, let's be honest, that's what they are.
Oh yeah, of course. I don't think they can deny that they are, and they won't. And then there's the whole question about the percentage and the pity timer. How do you integrate this into the decoration and all of that? But
and there's no way they narrowly define this as a box with loot. Like they're going to have to.
Of course,
have to broaden that out and say a thing you get
It's got to be randomized in-app purchases, right?
Yeah,
it's what they say already. They're basically saying loot boxes and similar transactions or something like that. So, so that's the loot box conversation. John, I think we interrupted you. Did you want to add something?
No, I just wanted everybody to know that I'm a bad consumer. that when I make up my mind to buy a loot box, I'm going to do it, dang it. Even if people are going, don't do it, John, it's a trap. I've committed at that point.
Seriously, if the thing you want is 0.05% chance of dropping, you're still going to buy the thing?
You know that scene in Aladdin where Abu sees the giant gem and everyone's like, hey, we were told one thing, don't touch the treasure, and he just walks towards it mindlessly? Like, that's me when I decide I'm going to buy a loot box. Like, I just become that.
Well, I'm curious to hear if you have decided to buy one of the most expensive games on the Apple Store ever. Civilization 6 has come to the iPad. It's basically almost complete feature. It's feature complete and almost entirely the same as it is on PC. And it costs, so you can play a little bit before you have to shell out the money. But once you do, the cost of the full game is $60. It's completely
late breaking news. They just went on sale on Steam for $29, and in the game, or I've been playing it on my iPad Pro. And to answer your original question, yes, I did. Of course, I freaking bought it. Are you kidding me? This is the greatest.
But it's only $30, right? Until the end of the year, until the 4th.
Correct. So if you buy it now, you'll get it for $30. That's, people say, oh, that's a lot of money for a tablet game. This is a full-blown, feature-filled, expansion-ready, all of that stuff version of this game, and it's stupid dumb not to pick it up for $30. It's so
that's
good.
Awesome that they cut the price on iOS too.
Yeah, I agree.
For sales and stuff.
Even without a price cut, I think this is amazing. It's the literal opposite of loot boxes and microtransactions. It's like, we have a freaking awesome game. Pay us $60 and you get it. Even at full $60, I would totally do this. I wish all mobile games did this. I said the same thing with Nintendo when they did Super Mario Run. I don't have an Apple phone anymore, so I didn't realize that this was available. But now that I know, I definitely will pick it up because I love Civilization.
Well, I think it's iPad only.
Porting to the iPad.
It's iPad. Well,
yes, I do have an iPad. Yeah, I have an iPad. The only thing it's literally my Hearthstone machine. The only thing I use it for. So
now it can be your Hearthstone and your Civilization 6 machine.
Exactly.
Excellent. Yeah, it's really interesting.
I played it last night into the wee hours, and it's stupid good. I'm telling you guys, it's a mistake to get it because you'll never do anything else. It's really good.
That's always my problem with Civ. Always.
Scott's toilet time just exploded.
Yeah.
Not entirely intended.
I'm not a big Civ fan, but I mean, it is extremely significant. And the thing is, some people are gonna think, well, they're not gonna sell many, but gamers might be interested. And of course, they don't need to sell nearly as many as any other game in order to make it successful. And there again, it could potentially set a precedent. It could be that some developers now think, if this works out, which it very much might, maybe we can get other games that are, that fit the iPad control method, the touch control method, to that iPad and get them for full price. We don't have to sell it for $3 or $5, or maybe we just go all in and sell it for 50 or 60. So we'll see how it goes, but it's definitely a breaking of the general mold. All right, you know what? I think the time has come to cover the actual favorite games from 2017. And I was joking that earlier before we started the show that our lineup is very similar. We all have almost the same games. And actually, that's what I was expecting in my French show, which I did a few days ago. And they all had like very different games. But I think we're more like in sync on the kind of games we like. But I'm curious to hear you guys talk about them and defend them. So that's probably not going to be difficult. But first, let's go over. I did this on my French show as well. I made a poll and asked my listeners to vote on their favorite games. They had to select 5 of them, and there was no ranking. So I selected all of the games that got 10% of the votes or more. And I'm going to go through them, and you can tell me what you think of the game in one word. Basically, either buy it, get it on sale.
Words.
So
Those
buy
are
it,
2 words.
get it on sale. Okay. Buy, sale, pass, or I didn't play it. That's more than 2 words. So we're going to go in the order. Scott, Joss, John, Ed, and then me. Okay?
All right.
Is it clear?
Sounds like the worst law firm of all time. All right, go.
So, Zelda.
Oh, wait, I'm starting?
Yes. It's Scott, Joss, John, Ed, and me, the worst law firm of all time. Scott.
Only must buy unless you really hate breaking weapons.
That is... No, you can't say that.
You're not following the rules.
All right. Scott,
Rules already
exist
broken.
for a reason, Scott.
All right, must buy.
Okay.
You have to get it.
Joss.
Sale.
Technically broke the rules.
Sale? Okay. Wow.
Sale.
Really?
Ooh.
All right, John.
Probably because you break weapons.
Yeah.
Didn't play it.
Okay.
Oh man, definitely buy.
Oh, yeah. Buy. Of course. What are you smoking? Okay. Mario.
Buy 100%.
Bye.
Didn't play it.
Someone
Buy.
doesn't have a Switch.
Buy. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, that's me again. Sorry. Buy. Buy. 3 buys. Triple
Okay.
buy.
Triple buy.
Bye, 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 bye.
Many buys. John.
Bye.
Buy the complete edition.
Oh, the one with the expansion? thing?
Yes.
Mhm.
All right. Buy for me as well. Assassin's Creed Origins.
100% buy. Love it.
Sale.
John.
Yeah, sale.
Sale.
Oh,
Sale. It's a sale for me as well.
gosh. You guys, wait a minute. Can I have a moment here?
Well, we're going to talk about them a little bit because
All
I think
right.
we... Yeah.
All right. Fine.
Nier Automata, which is very popular in France. I think it's not as popular in the US.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Well,
Hot take.
so Nier,
Didn't play it.
I guessed so.
I didn't play it either, but I've heard it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say bye with a question mark at the end.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Sale.
And I'm going to say do not buy. I did not like that game. For many reasons. I almost fought with my French friends, like almost physically. If we had been in the same room, there would have been things thrown. And we actually recorded a full 1.5 hour episode discussing why they loved it and I didn't. There's some good things, but very few, and it takes really long to get to them. But
No, I just want to say everybody here is right. Everything everybody just said about that game is right. It is so niche and so specific. It literally hits every category, I think.
But it sold like hotcakes.
well,
Which is
so that's
crazy.
the I think it sold like 2 million, which is huge for that game, but it's not, one of the games that everyone has and everyone played.
Yeah.
Yeah. In France, actually, I think every game lover has played it to an extent. But I think in the US, it's not quite the case. We have a very deep love relationship with the Japanese game industry.
It's just interesting because that game went from being like the original Nier or even the Drakengard series to being like very niche RPGs to now it's going to become a franchise because of the success of Automata, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely not a buy for me. PUBG, Scott.
Get.
Buy.
Yeah.
There's 3 words, Scott. 3 words to remember. It's not that hard.
It's throwing me off for some reason. Yes, buy. B-U-Y. Buy. Yeah.
Joss.
Oh, this is a tough one. Sale.
Oh, geez.
There's no such thing as PUBG going on sale.
Yeah,
I know.
That is true,
That's I just feel bad because it's so broken. Telling anyone to spend money on it.
Well, it's released now. It's 1.0, so
Yeah.
John.
Buy. Get in on the zeitgeist before the zeitgeist is gone.
Well, not only before, this is more, John and I had an experience recently with its chief competitor now these days, that Fortnite Battle Royale mode. And the same problem exists there as exists in PUBG, which is everybody who's in there 24 hours a day is a trillion times better than you by a factor of a billion jillion. So if you don't get in now and get good at it, you just die a lot and you wonder why you're doing it. So I am kind of on the bubble of buy or wait for a sale, because there is that factor. It's got nothing to do with the game. It's got to do with a rabid, overskilled player base that make new players feel like poopy poop.
Ed.
Didn't play.
Whoa!
Wow, really? What?
Whoa!
Yep.
What?
That surprises me. I don't know why that surprised me.
No,
It just
because
does.
everyone's played it, and it's $30. It's what? Okay. I played it. I didn't like it. I think it's no. I would say don't buy. Just no.
Listen, you're French. I get it. It's fine. You don't like things.
Cuphead.
Ooh. A very qualified buy.
Hmm? Josh?
Didn't play, but I watched a lot of it. But I know it's way above my skill level, so I didn't buy it.
Fair
I
enough.
think people should.
Fair enough.
She just described my qualification. It's
Right, right, yeah. John?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's a mix of didn't play, but maybe sale, because I think I'm in the same boat. It's like I saw a lot of it, and I know that it's going to be a frustration simulator for me. So maybe I will pick it up now that it's on sale, because it looks so good, but I didn't play it.
Fair enough. Ed?
I don't know what game we're talking about.
Cuphead.
Oh, Cuphead.
The thing like the cartoon, 30s
I haven't
cartoon
played it yet.
thing. Okay,
Well, I
haven't
played it at PAX, but I didn't play for real.
Yeah, I'm going to say sale, but because I didn't play it, but I kind of want to,
Yeah,
but I
sale.
don't want to pay full price because I know it's going to be just like John's life frustration. Is that what you said?
Yep. No,
Yeah.
you got it right. It's not what I
Exactly.
said, but you are spot on 100% accurate.
I would love to play that on the Switch.
Oh, John's
Yeah.
life? I don't think it's going to be very interesting.
No, it's not.
John's life
That's
on.
mean.
John, download John's
Never know.
life.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what,
Very
I was gifted that game. I'm not sure I would have bought it without that. So, it is a very qualified, like, it's awesome, but it is a frustration simulator, like, straight up. John's absolutely correct. And so if you're into that sort of thing, this is like the best game of the year for you. And if you're not into that sort of thing, you try to get it on a super sale, because it's a real neat thing to see, but you're going to be banging your head against that thing. And I
It's
mean,
like Dark Souls for platformers. Why would I put myself through that?
Well, I put myself through Nier, so I think other people can have a little bit of that experience. It's not that hard though. It's a different kind of challenge. Persona 5. I'm guessing many people didn't play.
I own it. It's sitting right here in a plastic wrapped package, and I haven't played it yet, so I can't speak yet to it. But I got it because of you, Patrick. Because of you.
What?
I did it because of you, Dad.
Me?
Yeah.
What did I say?
You said to me, I know that you're not a big anime guy and you're not super into this stuff. This is a few pixels ago, and we were just having a conversation about it. But you were raving about how 5 was so good and that you love these games and that I should maybe think about it. Well, I thought about it. Here it is. Here it sits, wrapped and ready to put stick in a PlayStation.
Well,
I just haven't.
I must have been in, I don't know, because I think it's really not a game for you. I would not recommend it for you, Scott. I think it's everything you hate.
No, I'm ready to play and then
Hate
give
on
you hate on you. Yeah, for
Okay,
giving
that's
me.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Joss,
Didn't play.
John.
Didn't play, but man, thank you, Patrick, because Scott owning Persona 5 is perhaps my biggest surprise of this entire year.
I played 4 for the record. It was all right. I thought it was a little too relationshipy and shit, but it was fine in the end. It
Yeah,
was
5 is no different. So I don't.
Well, all right then. Better graphics, right? I get that.
Yeah, kind of. It's a PS3 game that was developed for the PS4 as well. So it's not like the graphics or anything. I mean, the style, yes, it's the design is amazing. But
how much time am I going to be at a mall sitting there talking to people? How long is that?
not in a mall, but in other similarly mundane places.
Great. I'm ready.
Ed.
I did not play it, but I want to.
Okay, that's fair enough. For me, it would be if you don't already have it, it means it's probably not for you. That's not the answers I was instructing people to give, but damn it, this is a dictatorship and I can do what I want. Mario Kart. I mean, it's the 8th. It's kind of a re-release.
100% buy. I know it's a re-release, but it's the best Mario Kart ever and my favorite racer in a few years. I love it. It's awesome. Buy it.
Joss?
Yeah, I'd say if you haven't already played it on the Wii U, then definitely buy it for the Switch for sure.
Well, John doesn't have a Switch and we all hate him, so that's...
Yeah,
exactly. We're just going to skip him.
So take this as a Christmas list opportunity, everybody.
Very, very clever, John. Ed?
I would say sale, but the only reason I bought it was because there was a big drought of games on the Switch in the summer.
That's fair enough.
I wanted something to use my Switch on.
And you already know if you like Mario Kart or not, kind of.
Yeah.
Hollow Knight. Scott?
Hollow Knight. Remind me?
Hollow Knight is this very well-drawn Metroidvania where you play a bug and you're in a world of bugs, but it's kind of like Disney-y design.
I did play this. I sale because I bought it, didn't like it, and returned it on Steam.
Boy.
Wow. Okay.
That is a hot take right there. Holy cow.
I'm really surprised how little I liked it because I like Metroidvania games. Like, as a rule, I've always liked them. And I like variations on them, which I'll get to later in my list. But for whatever reason, that thing just did not do it for me.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Okay. I sense Ed is going to have a different opinion. Joss, did you play Hollow Knight?
I didn't play, no.
Okay, John?
I didn't play it.
Ed?
Buy. It's on sale right now, but buy.
Yeah.
Oh, if it's on sale, well, then maybe, no, I don't know.
You're going to buy it again and return it.
I'll say sale as well. It's one of those games you either get into it or not, but maybe it's worth, like, so many people love it. It's worth
like a
giving it
40-hour
try.
game, and it's $15, $10 right now. So
Wolfenstein 2.
Oh, my Lord. I own it because they had that crazy "why is this on sale" like a week after it was new deal, so I picked it up because John told me to, and it's just on my list of things I still need to play this year. So I expect to really like it because I love the last one, but right now I can't say I didn't play it.
Joss?
Same. I own it, but I haven't played it yet.
All right,
Too
John?
much came out late 2017.
Everybody should buy this game, and it sounds like they have. So everybody should play this game.
Ed, what about you?
if you're in my spot, play the first one and then buy the second one.
I'd say that's a fair assessment, but yeah, Wolfenstein 2, it's a buy.
Do we have to call it Wolfenstein? Do we have to do it that way, or are we allowed to say it the normal way? Which way do we have
The
to?
normal way, the American way.
Yeah.
I only pronounce it actually Wolfenstein 2. That's the way I say it.
Really good. All right. Never mind. I like it. I like what you've
Okay.
done.
Divinity Original Sin 2. Scott.
Buy. It's really neat. I wish I had more time to throw into it, but it's a buy. It's great.
Jocelyn.
Sale.
Okay. John.
Oh, that hurt to hear. Buy. It's so good. Everybody buy.
Ed.
Yeah. D&D. It's D&D realized. It's amazing.
I'd say sale.
Oh,
Yes.
And I will hurt everyone on this panel and say,
Oh, no, he's gonna say don't buy.
buy.
Oh my gosh.
I did not like that game. I think it's another one of those games that the audience it is for will adore it, and those who don't already know they want it are probably not going to get into it. And
I have a lot of
certainly-
problems with the game, but I think everyone should play it.
Nah. All right. Well, you know what? We're going to get other opportunities to talk about all of these games. And just as a reminder, this was the top that my French listeners voted on. And Zelda got 60% of the votes. So 60% of the people put it in as one of their favorite games. Mario got 40%, Horizon 22, Assassin's Creed Origins 20, and then it goes down from there down to 10 for Divinity 2. So pretty good list there, but let's get into our lists. And Scott, you're going to tell us about your favorite games and tell us why you like each one, and then we can chime in. And I think many of your games, as I mentioned, are on everyone else's lists, so
Yes.
you're kind of going to be the first one to go almost for everyone, but we'll comment. So No specific order. Which are your favorite games of this year?
Well, I may as well start with Mario since it's on a lot of people's lists outside of John's since he didn't play it. But Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Odyssey is and again, I know we're not supposed to rank them, but it's easily my favorite game of the year. So there, I just did it. I ranked it. I think it is everything I love about video games, and reminded me of everything that brought me into the world of gaming when I was a kid. Just personified in a modern example of video gaming. I love it. Its decision to move to a more open world format and to break some conventions of Mario without ruining the soul of what makes Mario is nothing short of brilliant. And I could play. I expect to be playing that well into 2018. Taking my time, getting every last moon. I thought that was an incredible video game. Did
you finish the last level, the
hard one,
the darker side,
the dark side?
Yeah, the really dark side.
Yet.
No. Okay.
I mean, I'll be honest. When I played through the initial campaign, or the initial game, I was hardcore. I was binging it like it was Netflix or something. Just I can't get enough of this, and I wouldn't stop. And once I got it all, I was like, all right, now I don't have to be like that. I can just sort of pick it up and I found some cool moons. And if I didn't know where they were before, I can go online and see if somebody knows where that weird hidden moon is. And, I'm just kind of taking my time with it, which I am really enjoying. So
fair enough.
One thing I really appreciate is they make it very easy for you to find moons that are like hidden, but not like too easy. Like you can there's two ways to do it. You talk to the bird and they give you the name, or you talk to Toad and they give you the location. Well, you pay them coins, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. And the amiibo thing is just a nice little thing for that. And I don't know, man, that thing. Well, just thinking about it makes me glad that video games exist and that we've come so far, and that Nintendo has continued to be a thing and that they'll never go away. Like, I just love it. So good.
Joss, you put it in your list too.
I did, and my favorite part of the game was kind of what Scott was alluding to, with the rushing through the campaign and feeling like you really had to get that story done because the game was so great. And then for me, it was the surprise at the end of the story that you'd played 10% of the game, and then the whole thing opens up and it's like the story felt like a tutorial, and now you just had this big world to explore and all these different places to go back to, and added content, new moons, just all kinds of stuff. But it also gave you this kind of persistent world. The fight with Bowser happened, and then that was awesome. But
Scott,
it kept going.
Sorry,
then
just a second. Scott,
oh.
We're getting a little bit of echo from you. Are you using if you're using your speakers, can you turn them down a bit?
Shouldn't be using any. I'm on headphones. You shouldn't be getting
that's
any.
Weird. Okay. Maybe your headphones are too loud. Sorry, keep going, Joss.
I was just going to say, the fight with Bowser happened, and then, Peach is off doing her own thing, and you can go find her, and she's traveling. It very much takes place after the story, and they're just yes, all this stuff happened, as opposed to, say, Zelda or Horizon that, have this big boss fight at the end, and then you're kind of transported back to before that, if you want to do any endgame stuff. And I much prefer the way Odyssey did it, where they're no, that stuff happened, it's over, move on, this is, post Bowser story, here's your world to play in. And I much prefer that style. So it was a very, happy thing that I found out when I finished the campaign of Mario, is that there was so much left to do afterwards, and it was actually afterwards.
Yeah, I really like that aspect as well. I love the fact that it's a little, I think the design of some of the moons is a little bit, obviously it's very easy to get them, but it works with the Switch, because if you're, on the go and you have just a couple of minutes to sink into the game, then you can actually achieve something and get a couple of moons or do something, and that really works for it. And if you want to sit down and just go nuts and play for 3 hours, you can do that as well. I think the thing that I enjoyed the most is how happy this game makes you. Like every time you do something, it makes you smile, and it makes you. I think I said this when I talked about it when it came out. I'm not one for the it makes me feel like a little kid, and it's so nice to feel like you're young again. And I think this is kind of BS. But but
you heartless old man.
No, but it's like I like to enjoy stuff from now. You know, I don't have this kind of obsessive rose-colored glasses look on the past that makes it look better than it was. And I like my childhood. I think now is probably better. But that game sort of showed me the joy of games in a way that is less prominent today. It's just pure, like when you capture a new enemy, it's just joyful the way you control them, and like it's just so. And I kept going back to it because I wanted to feel that happiness, you know. that so could apply to either Mario or drugs, but Mario has less side effects, right?
So I was one thing I really liked is there are some parts where I was trying to solve a puzzle without using like the hat, not because I was being a crazy gamer or whatever. I was just trying to do it, and then I realized that I could take over the little caterpillar things in the Lost Kingdom, and all of a sudden it made like all the platforming way easier. Like there's one part where you have to like jump between things, or I thought you had to jump between things, but you get the caterpillar and then you can just like.
Why would you not use the main feature of the game?
I didn't think about it. I honestly didn't think about it. But if I tried hard enough, I could have gotten that star without going the way. So basically what I'm saying is that there are many different ways to unlock these moons in such a way that makes it really rewarding and a good feeling when you go to unlock them.
Yeah, that's very true.
I had a completely different experience than Scott and Jocelyn did because I did not rush through the story at all. I went into a world, I got like a number of moons, then I did the story battle, and then I kept doing a number of moons, and I wasn't a completionist about it, but...
Well, I binged mine on the way home from BlizzCon, so...
I will say... actually, I have a question. Who beat the Darker Side level?
I did.
Okay.
I did not, so that's impressive.
Yeah, I have not yet, but I intend to.
It is hard, but what I really enjoyed, which some people yelled Dark Souls at me when I said it, was I really enjoyed the fact that when you first get to it, it seems impossible. Like it's completely ridiculously dumb. And the more you bang your head against it, the better you get at it, and then it becomes it becomes almost trivial. Like by the end, I was going to almost the final section without getting hit once, you know, and so the entire game feels like a tutorial for that, and it gives you all of the tools. It's not like Dark Souls where you're being frustrated from the get-go. I feel that's my the way I look at it, but that was very rewarding at the end when I got there. So anyway, all right. So Mario, now your second game, Scott.
All right. For me, the second game I'll mention is Dead Cells. This was a small indie game. Is a small indie game, I should say, and technically it's still in early access. So I this may be a bit of a cheat, given that it's not fully a 1.0 product on Steam yet. However, speaking of sort of Metroidvania style games and that sort of thing, that's one of these. And I absolutely love this game. So basically, it's how do I describe this game in a way that...
It's Metroidvania in a roguelike.
In a roguelike. There you go. It's exactly what it is. And if you say roguelike, I'm pretty much in. It doesn't matter what game you're describing to me. I'll play it. It will get me into old games when they add a mode like that. I'll play any game with that description, and even if it sucks, I'll still give it a shot. So that's what I did here, and I love it. It's awesome. Basically, it's got this really cool kind of retro art style that really works for me.
So kind of 3D pixel art type, which is very interesting and different.
Yeah, 3D ish. I mean, I don't know. It's not
well,
too
I mean,
3D.
it's rendered in 3D, but it's completely 2D. But the pixelized look works kind of strangely because it's rendered in 3D, and so you have the animations that are and the particle effects and everything, which you don't see it's 3D. I guess I should specify.
Yeah, it's a very cool trick that they're pulling there, because what you end up with is some really fantastic animation and particle effects and things that probably aren't possible if you're working purely in a 3D or in a 2D engine. But it's just so compelling. I just want to keep going and go back and try again. You unlock new weapons and abilities as you find them. It's always randomized. When you die, it's pretty hardcore, but you go back with some cash so you can afford some stuff, and it's not too bad. The enemies are super challenging. It's just awesome. I love the tone of it, the feel of it, the music. Everything's really cool. So yeah, it's as if they really did. It feels like a game's made for me. I know there's plenty of people who love that kind of game, but the minute I got in, I went, oh, okay, here we go. And they've done nothing but improve it and polish it and make it better and better. I fully expect the final version of that to be something special. So yeah,
it's been improved a lot.
Have you played? Did you play it, Patrick? I didn't know if you'd played that.
Yeah, I bought it in summer, I think. I enjoyed it well enough at the time, but I didn't jump into it as much as you did. And people have been telling me get back into it. It's been improved significantly, so I might launch it again. And did you know that this is a French company making it?
No, I had no idea. No, I didn't know that.
Now he hates it.
Are they all cranky?
That's not bad.
Are they all cranky about it and think everything sucks? Or they're probably all right, right? They're okay.
I think they're the good kind of French company.
Oh, good. Well, yeah. No, I actually I'm of the opinion that French developers and publishers right now are killing it.
You almost said my favorite. That would have been too much.
I almost did, but like Ubisoft is my developer of the year because I absolutely love the fact that the games that they've been putting out over the last few years, they have been backing with all sorts of after sale sort of. Yeah, let's like support our stuff. If it's broken, let's fix it. Let's polish this out. Let's make it better. Like I don't know what's going on over there, but there's certainly a lot to be learned right now from Ubisoft. Those guys are killing it. But anyway, good. Dead Cells, totally worth it. It's like $15. It's dumb not to get it. If the word roguelike means anything to you, it's a stupid easy buy.
You're making me want to go play it again. If nothing else, go check out a video and look at it because it just looks amazing. And I think this is a pretty good game to stream as well. I'm looking at you, Joss. It might be fun to stream at some point.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. All right. So no one else knows Dead Cells.
No, I really loved that game. It was one that it's my this year's. I just feel like playing something, where you just kind of want to put something on in the background. You just kind of want to tone out a little bit and just play a game. Like that was Dead Cells for me this year. So that game wasn't on my list, but it was very, very high on a bigger list.
Oh, there you go.
I'm glad you said it that way. That's a great way to look at it. It's a great thing to just like put on old reruns of Seinfeld, sit back, fight your way through stuff. You don't have to pay attention to a story. It's just a great
mechanical
way to
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, next game, Scott.
I'll go ahead and get it out of the way. Assassin's Creed Origins, I think, is the best Assassin's Creed they've done since Brotherhood, and is incredibly deep, big, awesome, and amazing. I'm partial to it. Admittedly, because it's set in ancient Egypt, which is a setting in a place and a time and a myth that I just freaking love. The mythological part of it, not that ancient Egypt was a myth, but
the mythical land of ancient Egypt and the pharaohs.
Yeah,
never existed.
Obelisks and Ra and
of course, yeah.
all that stuff. I love it so much. I want to be there all the time, and this game lets me do that. It's really good. I really do think it's the best they've done, and they turned it into, in many ways, a straight up RPG. You get loot and the numbers go up, and this weapon's better, and sweet, I just found this off the body of a guard and it's better than it was, and
the combat system has been revamped, and
completely revamped. It plays a little bit more like, I don't want this to scare anybody because it doesn't mean it's harder. It just means that they've gone for the style choice, but it plays a bit like Dark Souls in the combat.
Yeah.
It's not hard
No
like
wonder I didn't like it.
It's not,
it's
hard
much
like
more.
Dark
It's
Souls.
much easier. Yeah, it's not hard at
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
but,
no, it is. It is.
But it definitely borrows from that. I
like half
love
the
it.
industry, if we're being honest. But yeah,
I mean, I talk about how much I love it. I love a good stealth game, period. And I approach everything from a stealth perspective. I'd rather do that than fight. And this game lets me do that. I will always play a stealth game, so it's another, kind of I'm already in sort of thing. But I feel like this was a chance for the AC team to take a year off, which they did, to sort of assess a lot of systems and think about what the game should be moving forward. And I'm extremely pleased with what the result is, and I really quite like it. It's in my probably top 3 of the year. I love it.
Just to be clear, I don't think they took a year off and went on vacation in Hawaii. They took a year off putting the game out to flesh out the next one.
Yeah, they took an extra. Let's say it that way. They took an extra year to develop it rather than this year-on-year Call of Duty kind of thing. Right. They did that, and I'm much I think we're. If people are giving this thing a shot, it's I can tell that they did that. Like it's obvious to me that a lot of time, love, and effort was put into this thing, and that I think the team really did well. So anyway, I love it. If you like Assassin's Creed, even in a passing way, this is a great return to when the series was at its best. I would put this right up there, probably better than, but right up there with Brotherhood, Black Flag, and this are your top 3 in the series.
All right. Anyone else has anything to say about AC Origins? Nope. Let's move on.
Nothing
Next.
good.
Yeah, it's like not good things.
I mean, I need to get back to it. It's one of those I need to spend a little bit more time with it. Next game, Scott.
All right, so let's see here. Let's do Zelda's amazing. The only thing I would say is that if my weapon didn't break, it might be my favorite game of the last 5 years. But because my weapon breaks all the time, it made it sit behind Mario and others this year. I'm really bummed out about that.
If the weapon didn't break as often, you wouldn't use as much variety, though.
You're totally
that's
right.
The point, yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. However, as a long-term, lifelong RPGer, if the numbers go up and the weapons I'm getting are better, I'd still try new stuff. Like I realize that's true. This thing forces you to do it, but I'm not so convinced that that's all I do. So
I agree with you there, but I think that I actually found myself not wanting to use really strong weapons because I was worried they were going to break. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
You're right.
Sucks.
You're right.
That sucks. Now that and not being able to climb up a cliff because it's wet. That's some bull crap.
Or getting most of the way up and then slipping.
Yeah,
that's the whole.
Start training.
Oh my god,
that's so.
You're terrible.
I disagree completely there.
Yeah.
That's a great part of that game.
In some ways, it's like they speaking of Dark Souls, they just made things harder than they should have been, and they weren't rewarding otherwise. So
what?
It's the only bummer I have with that game. Everything else about that game is genius and makes it one of the most important, best games of all time. Like, I'm willing to say that about it. I'm just saying, just take away my breaking weapons and my damn slippery rocks, and I'm good.
So I have a couple of other problems with the game. I think that the through line of the main quest was kind of weak, and the puzzles that you got from the 120 shrines weren't nearly as complex as some of the previous Zelda's games because they were so small and short and one-off things, and that was kind of disappointing to me. As a lifetime Zelda fan, I mean, I've loved it since I played the original Oracle Ages was my first one, and then I've since played every single one of them.
I will say that this game is also, I mean, okay, here's how I will summarize it. When you first get out of the original zone, you get the quest to defeat Ganon. Mm-hmm. And 15 hours later, or 20 hours later, or 40 hours later, when you finally defeat Ganon, you get that quest, crossed off. And it's you sort of go back to the beginning, and it's like seeing your entire game time in reverse, and you're like, and you go back to the beginning, and you're like, you've done it. And it takes you through the entirety of the game, and it's like, oh my God, I've been on such an incredible journey. And every mountain I saw in the distance, and I went to and had to get some warmer clothes, and I climbed like somewhere I didn't think I was gonna get to, and the monsters I fought, and the Lionels, this whole, I have never felt, or not in a very long time, felt such a sense of breath and wilderness and adventure than I did in that game. I think it achieves something that is very special.
It is crazy how expansive and varied the different regions really do feel. It doesn't do it through like color palettes as much as like maybe Ocarina of Time does, where you go into the desert and it's like yellow because everything's sand, you know. But they do a little bit more. They give you the feeling of the weather effects that you have in different areas, and the different people that are in the different areas and stuff like that. This game, my problem with it is with it as a Zelda game, but as a game, I think it's one of the best games that has ever been made.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a big
far.
way to put it, but I think I agree. I think I agree with that.
Scott, we've been yelling at you in the chat. Could you mute yourself when you're not talking? Because the echo, I think everyone's hearing it, and it's a little bit distracting.
Are you guys you're all hearing it? Weird.
Yeah, it's very weird.
I can totally do that.
That
you know what
awesome.
it is. I know what it is.
Your
headphones
are
no, it's not that. It's a thing. Here, let me.
Okay. Well, because we were.
Oh, a thing.
Yeah, a thing. All right,
fix your thing.
Yeah, great.
All right. Anything else on Zelda? Anyone wants to? John, any thoughts on Zelda? I think that would be.
Nothing. First, I'll say this though, Patrick. Honestly, I was already sold on that game. I didn't need to be sold on that game. But what you just said about it sounded so cool that it makes me want it all over again. Like
Awesome.
there's something to the feeling of a journey at its start and a journey at its completion, and that sounds so cool the way you made it sound.
You get off that first plateau and you're just like, you're given one quest like all the way off to the east.
Yeah.
But then you realize that you can go to the west as well. And you can just walk around this entire area. I don't have to go over there to the east and talk to Impa or whatever, because I want to go this way and run into the sand and then get a sunburn because it's too hot.
We did get some sunburn. All right. Next game, Scott. That is your last.
Pretty much my final one. Horizon Zero Dawn is.
So I haven't finished it. Please, no spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Yes,
here.
I know.
I also have not finished it.
All right, so double no spoilers. Double.
I want her to gasp a third time. Ready? Third time gasp. I have not also finished it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. Okay, I have 100%ed this game and the DLC.
I haven't played the DLC yet, but
This is crazy, and also you love it in a way.
I gotta know about. I really want to know about where you guys are in the story, because I got to a certain point in the story where it's just like it yanked me through the rest of the way.
That's what everyone says, which is why I said no spoilers. I
Okay.
suspect there's.
The game is slow to start off with, in my opinion. It doesn't get you into what really matters until a little bit too late. But
that was actually what I loved about this game. Is that you jump in and you think you know what the story is, and you think that it's all about Aloy and her tribe. And I promise I won't go into spoilers, but you think that's what it is, and you have to figure those things out, and you're kind of driven by her story and her relationships and stuff in her little bubble. And then all of a sudden her bubble gets bigger, and then you think you know what the story is, you think you know where the main quest is going, and then all of a sudden your bubble gets even bigger, and the world just keeps getting bigger and bigger. You learn more and more, and her problems just get bigger and bigger in a way that just drove me the whole entire time. Like, I could not put this game down The combat was super fun. Like, I loved it. The way that you couldn't just like jump into fights. You had to be like tactical. You had to use a whole bunch of different weapons to deal with these gigantic machines, which was something I was a little worried about, that like this human was going to somehow overpower these giant machines with a bow and arrow. Like, it sounds like it makes no sense. But when you see what her toolkit is and the way she has to like use her head to get through these situations with sometimes herds of these robot monsters. Oh my God, it was so good. Not to mention the world building. Oh my God, the stuff that they did and taught us about like our current world and what happened to create the apocalypse. Just the amount of detail that's put into what happened. Oh, I'm sorry. I love this game.
So I'll talk about the combat. I completely agree with you. I love using the trip caster, the rope caster, like all those cool weapons. Like, and they also really reward you with your accuracy and like how good you are, right? Like if you can aim way far away and shoot this one little tiny thing that with a fire arrow, and it'll blow up and do like a massive amount of damage. Like they do that. But talking about the world building, the parts where the little things where you can like view into the past a little bit, and you get like kind of it's a side story, and you can go to them in any order and experience them in any order, and then afterwards you have to go through and listen to each one again to kind of get what the actual order is. It was just a great little world building storytelling piece that normally that would be like a quest that you would go one by one and do it, but it was just so cool that it was kind of in whatever order you wanted to.
I'm well. Let's go back to Scott. What did you think of the game? I mean, it's in your time.
Sorry, Scott.
I haven't finished it.
I love that I think that is the kind of thing I want to hear about that game. But yeah,
right. I haven't finished it. Like I said, I don't know how close I am, but I got distracted with other things. I fully intend to go back and fully flesh that thing out. But everything Josh said, basically. It's also I think what I like maybe most about it, and this is often a thing with me, is the world building. and a lot of it's implied. It doesn't have to all be explained to me. And just knowing that these creatures are there, and not being really sure why they're there or how they're there or what makes them function or tick or whatever is super interesting just on its face. But I just love the look and the feel, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's a dinosaur made out of like junk parts, and why is that even happening? And now I get to take it down, and I spec'd her out so that she could jump out of bushes and pull dinosaurs down and kill them.
The stealth kills, yeah.
It's really satisfying. So
I love the random items that you pick up around, and that they're all called like ancient something. And like one of them is like an ancient charm, and you look at the icon, it's a watch.
Yeah.
Like the little things like that. They're just things that you sell for money or whatever. But just the little things that like, or ancient cup, and it's a coffee mug.
Oh, the vessels.
The ancient vessel.
The vessel.
Yeah,
ancient vessel. Yeah. It's just so cool that like they took these things that are like, they'd use a lot of dramatic irony where like the characters don't know what these things are, but we obviously do, and it tweaks you in just the right place,
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I just finished the in-world, I think, like the Sun King part. Okay. So I think I'm reaching.
So that's the end of the second act. So you're about to hit the third act, which is when the stuff really ramps up.
That's
but it's what Jocelyn says, that like there's the first act, which is all the way up until you leave the valley, and then the second act is the Sun King stuff, and just your world just gets huge because now you have this entire new world to explore, and then the third act is when it gets really, really crazy and good, in my opinion.
And the biggest problem that I ran into was that it's a game that it controls right for the game, but it's a very unique control system for it. And the problem I ran into is I got on this quest to get the shield suit, the special suit that you can find, but you got to collect a bunch of stuff
for
the
ancient armor.
Yeah, I decided to go out and try to gather all that stuff up. and I was kind of lost doing that. And then I'd run into some story stuff, and I did that, and then I thought, man, I'm just really losing the thread of the narrative here. I gotta get back on track. I tried to. I don't remember what interrupted, and I took a break. And when I came back, I completely had forgotten how to play the game. I was just like, I went from tactical and knowing what to do to just, I don't know, I'm just going to shoot arrows until it explodes because I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore.
I will say this is one of the games that would benefit the most from having we noticed you haven't played the game in a while. Do you want a refresher course? Because I'm like you, John. I stopped playing, I can't remember, like in the spring. And I went back to it now a couple of weeks ago when I finished everything else. Well, not everything, but most of the things I wanted to finish. And it took me like 3 hours to get reacquainted with the system and get comfortable with it again. It feels awesome now that I have, and I'm kind of destroying everything. And what you were talking about, Joss, like the fun of being able to take down those gigantic beasts with the right tool and the right aiming. But yeah, I think I agree. I think it's a fantastic game. And the thing I love the most, I think, is just when an open world game is well crafted, you enjoy just wandering around in the world, right? Mm-hmm. And Zelda achieves that in a very different way, and this one achieves it in a more controlled and lots of icons everywhere way, but it also works super well. And I just go somewhere and go to a cauldron where I know I'm going to get something specific, like to get to hijack more beasts. And it's just, it's almost like a dungeon. So you wander into it and you get deeper and deeper. And like, it's a really good game.
And the design of those are all like very different, jagged, like walls and stuff like that. Then there's the couple that are more like overgrown, and I mean,
it's one of those games that makes it even more difficult for me to choose my favorite games. Like if I had to choose one, I don't know that I could, but because all of these games, when we talk about them between us, together, I'm like, oh yeah, that thing was awesome in that game. This is the game that I prefer. And then we talk about the other one, and you're like, oh no, that thing was great. And
so when I finished this game, and I got this like overwhelming sense of pride for like video games, which is kind of weird to say, but like the ability of games to be able to tell stories like this and make it fun and enjoyable for so many different hours is something that's completely unmatched by other storytelling mediums. And it just made me feel like so glad that I was able to experience this. And even my wife was like, I was playing on the PS4, so my wife was downstairs watching it with me. And even she was getting into it. She was like, what's that game you keep playing with the redhead and stuff like that? And I was like, oh, it's Horizon Zero Dawn. It's so good. And then once this in that third act and the story ramps up, she starts to like, no, I'm just saying, my wife really enjoyed that part too, despite despite not being a gamer herself.
Right. I think you should have kept that little spiel about pride to be a gamer for the end of the show. That would have been perfect. just say it again at that point. It okay, work.
I will. Yeah, sure.
Scott, you wanted to cheat and add a couple of things at the end of your...
I just wanted to say I loved PUBG and I loved Golf Story, and we don't even have to talk about them, but the Golf Story on the Switch is this little downloadable gem that nobody saw coming and was this great little golf/RPG thing.
It's so weird too, right?
Yeah, it's super weird. It's the weirdest game. It's almost like you barely golf in it. It's the strangest little thing. I absolutely loved it and still play it and would recommend it to anybody. It's great.
Cool. And obviously PUBG. I don't know if I can't see your I don't know your top, John, but do you have PUBG in your top?
PUBG is in my top.
Okay, so we can talk about it then. Excellent.
Yeah. We'll get there.
All right, so many of the games Joss you selected are we already talked about, but go ahead and we can talk about the others.
Well, I do have one that I want to make sure I mention because I feel like it slipped through the cracks a little bit. It's an indie title called The Sexy Brutale, and oh my god, it was one of my favorite things one of my favorite games, experiences everything in 2017. Did anyone else besides me actually play this game?
I
That game
did.
looks
I bought
super
it.
neat.
Yeah, I bought it on sale. I hate to say this. I returned it. I know.
Oh, man.
I could never.
God, you guys are making me gasp so much tonight. I can't even.
I could never find the fun. Like, I couldn't find the fun. I know it's in there probably. A lot of people raved about it. It was so repetitive and like, okay, well, let's go through it again and figure out what I did wrong this time. And I just didn't.
So I'll
what is it? What is it?
quickly explain if you guys have it. Okay, so it's basically this game where you're kind of like stuck in a time loop. And I should also probably mention that my favorite Zelda ever was Majora's Mask. So this is very similar.
That explains it.
You're basically stuck in this mansion in a time loop. The art style is amazing. There's this cool, like, jazzy music going on. You're at this masquerade ball, and all of the guests die. And you have to go kind of back in time over and over and figure out these puzzles in these kind of like dioramas of a room. Like you can only see one room at a time, and it's this like shoebox kind of view. And it's just the art style is great. The puzzles were complicated, and the kind of more murders you solve, each guest will give you their mask, and then it'll give you a power, so you can hear better or see better, or you're able to figure out like codes to locked rooms that you couldn't before. But you can never be in the same room as another guest or as one of the staff of the mansion. So you have to like plan your routes through the mansion very specifically. And the stories themselves about each individual guest and the way that they die, like one gets eaten by a giant spider, like one gets exploded by glass. Like they're very, it's not just like a stabbing and a shooting and like it's actually, they're very, very interesting. And each individual story, like there's a lot of like mystical stuff going on, and each character is different, to the point that when I finished the game, because it's an indie title, it's probably 5 to 7 hours worth of gameplay. I wished that there were more guests because I wanted to see more and I wanted to solve more, and it was super satisfying when it was done. But yeah, I wished that there was more of the game because it was just that good.
No, it sounds really interesting. It sounds very different.
It's on the Switch.
It was very different. Oh, it is on the Switch. Oh,
yeah.
man.
So I'm going to buy it on there, I think.
All right. Cool. So that's the Sexy Brutale. Just to specify, your other two that we already mentioned are Horizon Zero Dawn, which will surprise
if anyone
no one.
couldn't tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, yeah, it's like it is. I know we're not supposed to give rankings, but that is 100% my game of the year. 100%.
Fair enough. And Mario Odyssey. Then the Sexy Brutale, and there's a third one, which is a little bit surprising.
Yeah, and I wanted to fourth one. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned this because I felt like ESO in general kind of got a bad rap off the get-go, and I was kind of one of those people. I enjoyed it. I was in it day one. I was collector's edition. Like, I love just the whole world of Tamriel and everything they've ever done, from original Morrowind
Online,
through Elder Scrolls,
MMO,
like
right?
everything. Yes, the MMO. But I jumped in, and at the time, I mean, I'm more into World of Warcraft than I've ever been. And so I already had that like MMO thing that I did, and it's so difficult to get super into 2 MMOs at once. So when I jumped into ESO, it wasn't this kind of experience that I wanted. What I wanted was the next Skyrim. And I think that happened for a lot of people, where they wanted the Skyrim experience, and instead they got ESO and they were just like, nah, this isn't for me, and they left. So when Morrowind came out this past year, which is their, big expansion, I finally jumped back into it, and I'm so glad I did, because the combat systems in that game are really, really fun. And in Morrowind, what they actually did is they, much like Legion did in World of Warcraft, where you can choose your zone regardless of level, Elder Scrolls Online did that across the entire world. So you can now start a level 1 character and go anywhere in the world, and that's your starting zone. And that experience allowed me to go into that game and get the kind of single player Skyrim-y kind of experience, because the biggest problem was being told you were like the chosen one, but then you saw like 200 other people in your starting zone also be the chosen one. And it was a weird experience. And for some reason, it just didn't fit. But now you can go anywhere you want, experience anything you want. You can literally jump in and go straight into Morrowind, which is the expansion zone. You don't have to go through the rest of the world. You can start there with a level 1 character. And it fixed a whole lot of the quality of life things as well. It's basically Elder Scrolls 2.0. And it was a fantastic experience, and I can't recommend it enough. And I think a lot of people really discounted Elder Scrolls Online and kind of never went back. And if that happened to you, Morrowind is worth another look. And Elder Scrolls has also gone free to play now. So you can kind of jump in there without a big commitment other than obviously buying the expansion. But it's an experience worth having. And I think you can even... if you own Elder Scrolls Online, you get all of the like 2.0 updates. You get all the quality of life things, as well as the ability to level anywhere. So you don't even necessarily have to buy Morrowind. But yeah, the only thing is I haven't, again, because I'm super into World of Warcraft, I haven't done like the end game raiding stuff in Elder Scrolls, but just the questing was enough to scratch my Skyrim itch. Like it was awesome. And the game is beautiful. It's everything that I wanted now out of Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, I'm gonna 100%
Scott
agree.
was raving about it for half the year.
I think it would definitely have been on my list if I remembered. This year's been crazy for games.
It has.
It is really, really good, and it's so much better than it used to be. And the best part is that one Tamriel update is great. Go anywhere you want, level anywhere you want, play the way you want to play. It feels more Skyrim-y than ever, and is really fantastic. It deserves. I mean, WoW will always be WoW and always be in front and all that, but I think this deserves to be,
Up
in
there.
second place. If it's not, I think right now Final Fantasy has more users, but it's pretty close to third. But it's a really, really strong game right now and really fun.
Nice. All right, so you had 4 games on your list. John, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go
Yep.
ahead.
And some honorable mentions that we don't need to discuss them, but I will throw them out quick because they had a big impact on me this year. So I'm going to give a honorable / dishonorable mention to Destiny 2 for being a game that I feel super complicated about. Like, I put in enough time that I should be able to say, oh, I love that game. It was really good because I played it and had a fun time for a while. But I feel so down on that game right now that I can't recommend it at the same time. I want to give a shout out to Pyre.
Actually, I do want to discuss Destiny 2 if it's okay, just for a little bit, because I think it's worth talking about and explaining why to the audience. I spent almost 100 hours in Destiny 2 when it first came out, and even though it didn't have a very robust end game, the first part of the end game, let's say, gave me, the story was maybe 10 hours, and that was kind of dumb. And the rest was just gearing up to the max level, to the max power level, which is the equivalent of item level. And that, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. But then you don't have a lot of end game past that. You have the raid, but even that has its issues. But beyond that, the real problem is that the expansion came out in December, and that was 3 months from release on consoles, but it was 6 weeks from release on PC. And of course, the expansion, which is, a small expansion, a DLC, raises the max level and the end game level. So if you don't have it, you can't really play the end game anymore. And so all the people who bought it on the PC had basically 6 weeks to enjoy all of the end game they could, because then it would be taken out of reach and they had to pay for an expansion afterwards. And on top of that, I really feel that Bungie has made mistakes. I talked about it a little bit, but they've made mistakes that are kind of baffling, in that they put out a game that was flawed but really interesting in some ways with Destiny 1. And then they fixed a ton of things with Destiny 2. They fixed a ton of things with The Taken King a year later. And then they were working on Destiny 2, and we were like, well, when Destiny 2 is going to come out, it's going to build on what they learned for The Taken King. But actually, they did none of what worked in The Taken King, introduced some new things that were interesting with the, public events and stuff like that, but then introduced a whole bunch of other game design serious issues, like the leveling and the max level and all of those. And it feels like they haven't learned, like they're stuck in an endless loop of deception and disappointment and explanation and fixing and then disappointment again. It's very strange that a company like Bungie, who knows how these things work, would seem so to be making the same mistakes over and over again. And so for all of those reasons, and on top of that, I have no problems with the loot box part of Destiny 2. None. I think it's not a problem at all to progress through the game. It's not something that you need. It's not something even that you really, really want. But given that it's in, I feel really dirty about them putting out a DLC 3 months to 6 weeks after the game was released and pushing out that end game out of the reach of people who have the base game. So yeah, I'm
100% with you. Everything you just said is exactly how I feel about that game, and that's why I'm so down on it. But at the same time, I put in, like you, 100 hours in this game, more than I put into a lot of games that are on this list. Right. And I had a great time with it. And so it's really hard to reconcile this feeling of I sunk a ton of time and had a great time, but I'm so down on this game at the same time.
Well, I'm glad you guys guinea pigged it, because I had this feeling early on. I went, I'm going to skip console, waiting for PC no matter what. And then PC came, and I went, all right, I'm just going to wait a little bit here, see what happens, see what the thing is. Everyone's like, oh, it's so good, you got to get it. I'm like, okay, well, let's see how y'all doing in a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks pass. Sure enough, Him and Han starts. The Destiny train comes in, and I went, meh, I'm good for now. So I am holding off. I have no desire to pick it up now because none of my friends are happy with it.
Yeah, it's this entire weird situation that they put themselves in. But yeah, I mean, it's hard because it was a great game for a game that was awesome for 80 hours. The problem is that game doesn't exist anymore because you have the DLC now. So you can't just buy Destiny 2. You have to buy the DLC in order to enjoy a lot of the end game. And there was the Heroic Strikes thing, which was not in the original Destiny 2, but it was in the original Destiny 1. And then it's a mess. Anyway, so yeah, complicated feelings. It's complicated. All right, keep going, John.
All right, the other honorable mentions I want to throw out is Pyre, which was a fantastic game. I did not spend enough time to finish it, so that's why it's kind of not on the list. That's me too.
I want that.
But it's so good.
It's quite good.
I'm going to also say Injustice 2, which I think was this year.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure
it was
this
year.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, it was this year. Yeah.
So Injustice 2, just real quick, the reason it's on my list is I am horrible at fighting games. I'm bad at them, but I like them for some reason. And I thought, I'm not going to do it this time. I'm going to just watch the story because I found a place where all the cinematics were there and I care about the stupid story in the thing. And I was like, I'm going to watch that and I'm done. And I watched it and then I went and bought the game anyway and had a really good time with it. And then became an obsessive Wonder Woman main in that game and just, it was fun. I had a really good time with it. So that's on there. Cool. And my last honorable mention is Telltale's Batman: The Enemy Within. And the reason it's an honorable is because only episodes 1 through 3 are out, which means it's going to be forgotten about next year. So I'm going to give it a little shout out here. It's done some really incredible things with Batman lore and the characters in it, and I haven't been able. It can't come out fast enough, the final 2 chapters. So I've been really enjoying that as well.
Yeah, I played the first 3 episodes, and we had a really good time with it. I liked it a lot. I think that's a good one to add to the list. And it's got some jank, and it's got the Telltale, okay, when you guys going to upgrade your engine, and all those other quibbles that I have with those guys right now. But the story is pretty top notch, and Jane is in it.
Yeah, Jaina is in it. And it's got a really cool take on the Joker. So PUBG, we'll say, is my first game that's actually on the list. And this is a game that I absolutely should not like. It's ugly. It's janky. It doesn't really feel like it actually is a full game yet. It has a progression system that might as well not exist. It's so bare bones. And it is a game where 100 people are going to compete in multiplayer and only one person's going to win. So the odds of it being you is pretty slim. And everything about it is a game that shouldn't work for me. And I kept coming back to it all year long and had such a blast. And it's the same impact that Heroes of the Storm had for me, where here's a game that's in a genre that I don't typically like. There's a lot of things about it that I shouldn't really like. And yet, when the whole package comes together, it's the thing I couldn't put down this year.
Nice.
I agree with you, John. And actually, so I didn't put PUBG on my list because I agree with all of the negatives that you said. Like, it's janky, the graphics are bad. There are a lot of negatives to this game, but you really can't deny the addictive gameplay loop that is PUBG. I have over 200 hours in PUBG now.
Oh, wow.
I have played the crap out of this game, and I can't tell you why. I complain about it so much because it's super frustrating. But at the same time, somehow, I always come back to it. My friends are playing it. It's because there's such quick queue times, because so many people are playing it, it's you die and then you just you want to get back in and get revenge. And even if it's not that same player, it doesn't even matter. You just want to jump back in. And you can do that within 2 minutes. You've got a minute of queue time at most, and then a minute where you're on the island when things are loading, and then you're back in the game, and you're scavenging again, and it's
even if you lose,
and even if you lose,
you're back in super quickly,
right
so it
away,
doesn't really feel like you're yeah.
So I completely agree with everything, and the negatives that you mentioned, John, are why it's not on my list. I feel like it can't. It just can't be. I just can't do it.
I think for me, and the reason why it's there, because I do agree, it's there because it somehow succeeds despite them. And of course, with it, only just coming out, a day or two ago, technically, I think that the potential for those negatives to get better and go away exists. And I think we might see it. And I think this is going to still be a game that carries on into 2018, kind of in spite of its flaws. And I think that's why I gave it the bump. But yeah, it certainly is. It is not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. And to say that it will carry on is an understatement. It is a bona fide phenomenon. It is enormously huge, and it's the gameplay loop that does it. It's got other issues like everyone keeps bringing up here. I will say 1.0 seemed pretty polished to me the other night. I was impressed with, it just felt better. It felt more like a finished game and less like a janky mod for Half-Life or something. But it's still got its issues, but there's no doubt. Well, here's my prediction for the next 2 years. Every game that has a gun in it will offer a multiplayer mode that features 100 people falling out of the sky and fighting each other.
Yep.
All right, another game.
All right, my next one would have been Horizon Zero Dawn. We already talked about it, but I'll throw it out that it was on my list. And so my next one that we'll talk about is XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. It's a bit of a cheat because it's technically an expansion pack to a game that's already been out. But
that's allowed.
I would argue that this is the game. XCOM 2 feels like it should have been the early access, here's what we're thinking about doing version of XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. This expansion makes that game such a complete and amazing thing. It is the first game outside of Shadow of Mordor to use the Nemesis system in a real full kind of way. It's incredible because it introduces these generals that now are on the battlefield that have special traits. They won't take fire if you do Overwatch shots at them. They just cannot be hit by them. Or they can take no damage from grenades. But then they have weaknesses. Snipers will do double damage to them. And the longer you take to progress the story and the more time they have to command, the more positive traits they get and the fewer negative traits they get. So it adds to that urgency of, oh, we got to move. We're in a desperate situation. These guys are getting really strong and difficult to kill. We got to keep moving. And that game, for me, it put all the pieces together properly. And I couldn't stop playing it, even though, and I don't know why I did this. I would turn on Iron Man mode, which means if you lose somebody, all the decisions are permanent, and then it would happen, and I go, well, that's it. I got to restart the game. My awesome soldier died. I got to just do a full restart here, which I could have avoided by not doing Iron Man mode, but I did it anyway. Your soldiers can get captured instead of just always killed, and you have to do rescue ops to try and save them. They just put so much into this expansion that I can't say enough good things about it. It was so much fun going through.
You know, this game is the kind of game I mean, it's a game I wish I liked the genre of. I just don't, and it's the kind of thing I feel guilty. There are some genres that I don't enjoy, and I feel guilty about not liking them, and this is definitely one of them. So I don't know. I mean, yeah. It's a niche genre for sure. I mean, I don't think it's a genre for everybody because it is punishing. It's in a way Dark Souls-esque, not in a gameplay standpoint, but in a, this game wants to be brutal to you. You will look at it and all of a sudden the game does a thing and you're just like, oh my gosh, what is this game doing? They essentially add zombies into this game. They're not technically zombies, but they also kind of are, that they will swarm on you and spawn more if you use a grenade. And then they put you in situations where the only viable option is to use a grenade. And you're just looking at the game going, what are you doing to me? Why?
You guys are just cruel. Okay. You're being cruel to me.
It's especially, if someone doesn't like, if you don't like tactical games to begin with. I mean, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle kind of helped in that sense, but yeah, I think it sounds great. I just can't. It's one of those things I don't really manage to get into, and it's too bad. But yeah, games for different people.
I love turn-based tactical strategy games. I am terrible at them.
Yeah.
So I'm with John that it's a rad game, but man, I suck. There's just no way around it.
All right, fair enough. Another game. I think John is my dark side mirror because he likes all the games I don't like, and I think the next one you're going to be talking about is one of those.
Yeah, for sure. And it breaks my heart that you don't like, but that's all right. That's all right. Divinity Original Sin 2.
There you go.
This game would probably be top of my list, except that I've had to play it in a very unique way. And I shouldn't say had to play it because it's been a joy to play the game this way, but I have only been playing this game in a 4-player multiplayer session that we've been streaming on Twitch. And it is one of the most fun game experiences I have ever had, to be able to just say, okay, I'm taking on this one role in this team of 4. It is like playing a visual Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Right.
And it has just been amazing to go through. The amount of depth and what you can do and things that you think, well, I wonder if I could do this, and then it works. And like a deep level strategy. I mean, right now we cheer every time I pull off what is called the chicken combo, which is I have an ability that if the opponent moves, they take damage. I also have an ability that turns people into a chicken, and when chickens are on the battlefield, they run around. So you apply both of those to them, and the chicken runs, and you just watch their health just shoot down, and everybody cheers. It's the chicken combo. And it's an incredible experience with friends. It being a co-op game, I think, is a major boon to it. I don't know how I would feel about this game if I just played it by myself, because there is an element of just, you're your victories are with your friends. Your defeats are with your friends. You're letting other people think on their feet and try things on their own. And it made for a very special experience for me that's also a bit unique. And the only reason it's not higher on my list, again, is because I play it 3 hours a week. And that's kind of been the session that I've been going through with it. So where I'm only about halfway through the game. But I look forward to Sundays when we play, maybe more than just about anything else that I do in gaming right now.
Nice.
I have a lot of problems with that, with Divinity too, but I think that a lot of them, like you're saying, would be solved by playing them with other people. I found the gameplay very tedious, and the ability to play with other people would have solved that for me.
Especially fighting the battle system's super cool, and the variety is amazing and stuff, but I'm with you. On your own, that stuff takes really a long time, and it's not like you're running into 2 or 3 bandits or something. You run into sometimes camps full of 50 things you got to figure out how to kill, and it is a long turn-based slog.
And I always felt like I was making the wrong decision when I picked when I picked an ability.
Yeah, same. And so doing that with other people, turns out that's a super fun thing to do because you're coordinating and all that. But on your own, I kind of agree. It's a little bit of a booger there.
All right. You have one more? Oh, no, 2 more.
Yeah.
Well, I mean...
no, just one more.
Yes.
I think we'll agree on this one, though, right, Patrick?
Yes, that's the one. Well, actually, Horizon is also one of mine. So, yeah, and this one.
Okay. All right. So my again, we're not putting numbers on them, but I'm going to do it anyway. My game of the year.
Everyone is. No one listens to the dictator. It's a very poorly run dictatorship I have here.
This is how the uprising begins. Yeah. We say my game of the year.
You're actually just a figurehead, Patrick. We're the people with the real power.
We're the regime.
Right.
Which is in theme because it's Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, and this game. I had not beaten the first, Wolfenstein, the New Order, and I thought, well, I do want to beat that before I play this, and I was about 3/4 of the way through it, so I loaded that one back up and started playing it, and it's all right. It's a good game, but it has its problems, and I finished it, and I thought, okay, that was fun. I don't know if I'm that excited to play new Colossus now, though, because I just went through, a quarter of this game. I just finished it. I am curious where they're going to go with the story, so maybe I'll just load it up and see what happens. And then I proceeded to do nothing but play that game until I beat it that same day.
Oh, you finished it in one day?
I couldn't stop playing it. It was an unhealthy amount of playing this game. To say this game is bananas is to do it an injustice. I cannot believe where this game went. I can't believe the things it did. I can't believe it took friggin' BJ Blazkowicz and made him one of the most compelling characters in not just this year in gaming, but perhaps all of gaming.
Yeah.
Like, it does so much that... almost everything I could say about this game that would be great would be a spoiler. It's just something that needs to be experienced. You will not believe the things you see and do in this game.
Yeah, that game is crazy good with its story writing, and the shooting is awesome, and all that makes me wish that I had played more of it than I did.
Oh, did you not finish it?
So I played the first level at as a demo at PAX, and that I was like, okay, I'm sold on this. I'm going to go home right after PAX and play Wolfenstein New Order. And then I didn't do that. And so when Wolfenstein 2 came out, and then all of a sudden I had Mario to play as well, it just kind of fell off the list at that point.
Well, as John said, did no one else play it? Are John and I the only two? I guess so.
Yeah, it's still sitting on.
I didn't play it.
Joss have it, right, Joss?
Yeah, we have it, just haven't played it.
Okay. What can I say? This game is... I knew there were going to be things that were going to happen. I kind of knew roughly where it was going to go. or I thought so, and it kind of goes that way. It's very, predictable in one way, but in others, it is also very surprising. And everything John said, it manages to mix together in a compelling way the storyline of a character that used to be just a couple of pixels shooting Nazis. He still does that, but it also makes him emotionally relatable and compelling and all of that. And it mixes in some incredibly dumb pulp, like what's his face? Pulp Fiction, Tarantino type ridiculousness cranked to 15. And they all work in that context. What it achieves is kind of incredible. And I remember I tweeted at John because I knew he had played it, and I tweeted, I'm still playing Wolfenstein. It's incredible. And I just passed, the moment in the game. And he replied something along the lines of, well, in that game, I'm only 70% sure of what you mean when you say that moment. And so I kept going, and I understood his tweet.
You think like, okay, it can't get weirder than this. And then next thing you know, it gets way weirder than that.
And the magical thing is that it makes sense. So it's absolutely one of my top games as well, and I love that game. Definitely the series, and I will also say, as I did say in my initial impressions, it feels really good to be in a world where shooting Nazis is just, natural, and they're the bad guys. And we can just all agree that these Nazis are just the Nazis. Nazis are the bad guys, and you shoot them in the face. And that's what the game is about. I love it. All right. I think that's it for your games, John, right?
Yeah, that's them. It was a good year, and I still somehow managed to feel like I missed a ton.
Yeah, all of these games you're talking about, I want to play the ones that I haven't. So, Ed, you have Mario, Zelda, Horizon, and a couple of others that we didn't mention.
Yeah, so quick honorable mentions, Hellblade. We talked about it last week to get my impressions on it. I think that's a fantastically put together game and is absolutely worth everyone playing. Observers by the Layers of Fear guys, and they managed to take what Layers of Fear was, which is very trippy, and turn it even more trippy with Observer, which it's awesome. Then Tacoma by the guys who made Gone Home. That game is really, really good and surprising how well it's put together for such a short 2 to 3 hour experience.
I loved Gone Home, and I haven't played Tacoma because I felt everyone was lukewarm on it. Is it?
No.
Okay,
it was great. It was great.
Okay.
If you loved Gone Home, you'll love it.
Cool.
So all right. So the ones that actually made my list are Edith Finch, What Remains of Edith Finch, which is by the people that made Unfinished Swan. This game is really, really good. It's hard to really describe exactly what it is. It's a very short 2-hour experience. You play as Edith Finch, who's the last remaining person in her family after her mother passes away. And she basically goes back to the house that she grew up in, which is this hodgepodge, almost like the Weasley's house from Harry Potter. That's all like kind of put together haphazardly, but there's no magic involved. It's just kind of like hammered together the way it is. She goes back and kind of experiences how her different family members have died, and a lot of them are very tragic. And it's a very sad game, but there's something.
It scared me.
Yeah.
To be honest, I haven't finished it because you play in first person, and you're like going through all of these different they're very narrative. Each one has a different narrative style, which is very cool. Like one of them is a comic book, one of them like is this crazy trip, and you like play as a bird. Like it's just it's awesome. But it scared me, and I couldn't like make myself take the next step because I was pretty sure that I knew how it was going. And I was just like, I don't want to do this. Can't do no. I'm no.
In a lot of their marketing and advertising, they said like, "There's no jump scares in this game."
That is BS.
Oh, come on.
Or maybe I'm just really like
jumpy.
Yeah.
No. Oh man.
Yeah, maybe I'm just jumpy. Maybe I just can't handle first person exploration.
I think you should go back and play Jocelyn and finish it because it's like I said, it's short and the payoff at the end is really good. And you're talking about some of the things about the very first little vignette you play is as this little girl who like is basically dreaming and she becomes a cat and then like an owl.
Yeah, I can't remember if we talked about it last week, but some of the gameplay elements that I've seen seem so inventive. Like at some point you're reliving the life of someone who was working in a factory, and with one stick you're controlling the factory thing, and the other one you're controlling his memories.
That's one of the last vignettes that you play, and you're basically one stick is controlling. You grab the fish that's in the factory, and you put it in the slicer, and you take it over, and it slices the head off, and then you throw away the fish. But then the other one you're controlling basically his fantasy, like he basically has depression and he finds that his fantasy world is so much more awesome than his not fantasy world, and actually like starts to make an impact on his like actual day-to-day life. And so there's lots of like deep, hard hitting stuff that they're talking about in this game that just makes it, for such a short game and how cheap it is, and it's so high impacting to me. And at the end I cried a little bit. I mean, it's just absolutely worth it. It's like I said, 2 to 3 hours maybe, and by the time you finish it, you will not regret your journey through it.
I feel like I was very close to the end because I can't remember exactly where I needed to go, but I'd explored most of the house, so I probably only had 1 or 2 left to go.
You're probably almost done.
Yeah, I probably am, and I was just like, I can't remember. It might have been like you had to go into the basement or something, and I was just like, okay, nope.
No basement. You noped out. Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems very interesting. Between this and Tacoma, I might have a couple of things that I need to get done during the vacation.
Yeah, they're quick.
Holidays.
They can finish both of them in a single day.
Okay.
Like they're quick knockouts. So yeah, that's Edith Finch. Absolutely recommend to anyone. The last one, not the last one, but the other one that hasn't been talked about yet was Prey. I don't know who has played Prey here.
I started it. I played like the first whatever like the demo was, so the first kind of like hour of gameplay, and I loved it, but it came out at this time where there was so much else going on.
Right.
I just didn't have the time to jump into it, but it's another one that I own that I need to go to probably in January, February when nothing's coming out.
It had me when people were saying things like, oh, spiritual successor to System Shock 2 and stuff like that. I was like, oh, that sounds so good. But then the buzz also started to turn into, it's a lot of hitting things with a wrench. And I was like,
so I will say that is true. The combat portion of the game is fairly weak. You do a lot of hitting things with a wrench, but you get to a point where you can basically fabricate ammo like whenever you want for your guns. So I'm just always walking around with like 120 ammo in my pistol. So I there's a lot less. I only whack things with a wrench when I want to save ammo, basically, which doesn't need to be super often. But the real push for this is the narrative parts of the game. You can kill anyone in the game at any point, and if you kill someone, then it'll, especially like main characters, it'll close off their quest lines to you, but it'll also like it won't make you fail the game completely by killing them. There's one character that you meet at the very beginning of the game, and then there's another character that they're in conflict with each other, and if you kill either one of them, then the first one's like storyline will go further. But if you don't choose not to kill either one of them, they'll actually kill each other, and then or not kill each other, but one will kill the other, and then that's the main trail. But if you kill that first guy that you meet, then you actually get to meet the other guy, which is just kind of the background narrative.
My head hurts now.
Yeah, and the background narrative, the fact that the way you go searching for people is not just look for a pointer on the map to follow this quest. It's actually you're told like, hey, you need to go look for this person. And then the way you go look for them is you go to a security desk, find their name in their job section, find their name, click it, and then it puts something on your map. So there's a little bit more interactivity with finding someone and kind of in-world reason why you can find them.
It's half just off on Steam right now. Everyone's been saying it's so. I mean, a lot of people are telling me it's really good. I'm like Joss. I played through the first hour. There were some interesting things, but I felt like, it doesn't.
It's
really...
scary. It messes with your mind. It's really empowering once you get those more powerful things. The cool thing, the one cool thing that I will mention is there are turrets around the entire station that will kill any of the aliens that they see. But you can also take your little power up or upgrade things and put it in alien powers. And once you reach a certain threshold, the turrets will start shooting you because you have too much alien in you.
Oh, right.
You know? So just the detail that they went into, the narrative and the systems of this game make it really good. I wish the combat was better. It would be higher on my list if the combat was better.
Okay. All right, so Prey, and that's it.
I mean the other ones are just kind of regrets. I haven't played enough in Nier to put it anywhere. Hollow Knight, Evil Within 2, stuff like that. Yeah, that I want.
We should have. I don't know why nobody put it on here, and I just think it needs to be mentioned, even though it scared the hell out of me, and I'll probably never finish it. And the only way I could play it was with John on the phone with me. But
Resident Evil 7.
Resident Evil 7.
Oh yeah, that's another one that's probably in the bottom 5 of my top 10. Because that game, there's a moment and there's a Twitch clip of this of me streaming this game where I open a door. And I wasn't expecting an enemy to be there, but an enemy was there, and I screamed bloody murder.
Yeah, that was also on my list near the bottom because I technically didn't play it. I just watched Scott play it and made jokes at him as he was getting scared, but it was really fun.
Did you play it in VR, Scott, or?
No, hell no.
Oh my God. Oh, why would you ever do that to yourself?
One of the people on 4Player Network, Nick, he played it in VR completely, and he said it's one of the best VR experiences he's had since VR has become a thing.
Oh, I'm sure it was technologically amazing, but I don't know why you'd ever do that.
And emotionally scarring,
traumatizing.
For jumpy jaws.
Without VR, I couldn't turn lights on and stuff.
No, I played the beginning as well, the demo, I think, in VR. And if Joss is jumpy, I'm like the wimpiest wimp you'll find. I couldn't do it. I was like, after 10 minutes, I had to take it off. I was so scared. And I realized how silly this sounds because I knew it was all pixels, but I was really so scared that I didn't want to
It's not silly, Patrick. Going. It is not silly.
All right. So basically, you've talked about all of the games on my list except one. I have Mario, Zelda, Wolfenstein 2. Oh my God! Like this, the thing where you go to another place and there's something and then you come back and the end, like when she's like throwing grenades and slides and she's like look out. Okay, anyway, that game, you know what I'm talking about, John, right?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I could not believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Like
the place you go specifically.
Yes, and everyone who's played it knows what we're talking about, and in their head they're like, yes, that thing was so like, yeah. So anyway, that Destiny 2 we've talked about, complex feelings about that game. Horizon Zero Dawn like kind of replaces it for me in my top 5. The last game I do want to mention is Shadow of War, because I love that game so much. It is everything I hoped it was going to be. The loot boxes, don't listen to what the haters say. The loot boxes have no bearing on that game. With the caveat that it's the first 3 acts that are the game, and the 4th act, as I said in when I talked about it on the show, the 4th act is just a failed attempt at making a let's keep playing once we're done version of the game and keep the world available to you, except the motivation for you keeping playing just failed. It wasn't there, and it sort of turned into a grind rather than an enjoyable experience. But that really is unfair to judge it on that, because the first 3 acts are the game, and they have a conclusion, and they're great, and they're perfect. And the return of the Nemesis system works really well. You build up your army in a way that is even more compelling, because you have to take down those, you have to do sieges to take down fortresses, and it really works to like not strategically, but like you get captains that counter the ones that are on the other side, and you take them down with the right allies, and like it is such a great experience. Now, if you don't like the Batman style combat system, there's a lot of that in there. So if you don't like that, you're probably not going to like the game. But if you do, yeah, John?
I was just gonna agree with you that this game, I think, got way too hard of a rap. It didn't deserve it. It was fine. Like, it's not high on my list. It's in there. It didn't make my honorable mentions because it was just more of that, but I liked what that was. So while it didn't set my world on fire, I've loved every bit of time that I've spent playing it. I played it for a bit, and then I was like, yeah, I'm good. I can go play other things now. But it is still that combat. It is still that game style. It is still the Nemesis system. It is still really cool orcs with accents yelling at you. It's a lot of fun. I agree. Also, people get mad about the Batman combat. I don't get that. To me, that's still
I like how
the most satisfying combat in games.
Yeah.
No, dude, that thing was so revolutionary. Anytime it shows up in anything, it makes that game better. I would rather fight that way on the ground than almost any other way of fighting. Like,
I think that Shadow of War kind of takes it to a better level than the Batman level combat was, just because of the way that they interact with the like more supernatural parts. So you get more powers that kind of make you way powerful, and nothing can stop you as you progress through the game, which I think is really satisfying.
Yeah, and the Batman thing, I think it some people don't like it because they think it makes it too easy, which to an extent I kind of agree. But many games of that type of AAA blockbuster type game end up being not super challenging. That's not the main draw for the game. And yes, it's a little bit more rhythm game-y but cinematically, and like the way it makes you feel as the character are absolutely awesome. Like the fact that
you feel super badass.
Yeah. And the fact that your punches and sword strikes and everything connect with one enemy instead of like randomly sweeping in front of you and getting, 3 or 4 in front of, in the movement of your sword, I think it makes for a better combat system at its core. That's the way, the reason I enjoy it. So anyway, Shadow of War is a really good game, and I'm pretty sure it's on sale everywhere right now. If you like that kind of thing, you cannot go wrong with that game. And it's also open world in a way that really works. It's very long, even for the first 3 acts. And yeah, I think it's a really good game.
My only issue was that I think Dude McMahon Face is kind of a boring hero.
A little bit. I like where it goes towards, the way the story progresses, and towards the end, I really like what happens.
Like the elf is cool. I like what's his name? Is it Celebrimbor?
Yeah,
Celebrimbor. Yeah.
That's such a fun name to even say. He's all right. He's intense. But every time I see Tavion, I think is his name.
Talion.
No, Talion. There you go.
Talion.
Okay, every time I see him, he just looks like he's in a general haze about what life is, about what his purpose is.
He's just baked all the time, guys. Come on. It's very obvious.
That's all it is.
He's waiting for the personality to get drug and dropped onto his character, and it's just not coming.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree. It's not. I mean, there are issues for the game. Obviously, it's not perfect, but Anyway, I think that's it. We've done it, and there's a lot more different games than I expected. We all kind of talk about Mario and Zelda and Horizon.
Not me, not Zelda, not me.
No, not you. You didn't like it. All right, fine.
Patrick, you should have done like the middle 5 of your list. Like the first 2 are obvious, but the middle 5 is what we should really talk about.
The biggest bummer of the year probably is that Zelda came out the week or the week after or the week before Horizon, and it in a lot of ways
Horizon came out like 2 weeks before Zelda.
It was okay, yeah, but it was so
but they
close
were really
to
close. Yeah,
they really. I really feel like Zelda ended up bearing the lead, which was. Horizon.
I found myself comparing Zelda and Horizon a lot while I was playing.
Everyone did,
and which was a little bit unfair. But I think Horizon, the fact that Zelda came out on a new console, well, we won't talk about the Wii U. In practice, it's a huge seller, Horizon. It's a huge success. We are getting Horizon 2. Sorry, go ahead, Ed.
I was just going to say that when I said I was comparing them, doesn't mean that I thought that one was much better. I liked looking at the pros of both in such a way that I think they're both fantastic games, and we're able to break into my top 3 this year. But like I found myself comparing them, but not for the worse. They were both just fantastic.
No, I agree. I think Horizon is basically the epitome of the classical AAA open world game with compelling story and gameplay, and sandbox and theme park and all of this. And Zelda kind of takes it in a new and different direction, which everyone was struck by, and we didn't expect it to that extent. But I think everyone agrees that both are amazing open world games in slightly different styles. So
yeah. But the different styles, I don't think that I hope that not all games go like to the Zelda style like immediately. Yeah. I still think that there's a place for the Horizon AAA developed style, and I just got to hand off to the Killzone people for how much of a success that was. Who would have thought the Killzone, a linear shooter, the developers would have turned this game into something that's just so great.
We knew they could do beautiful games. We didn't know they could do games with such depth and such character and stuff. And because the Killzone games, for all of their what strengths that you could list, I suppose it was that was a boring shooter series. It had so many cool stuff on the skin, but then if you got deeper, you're like, this isn't that great. When I first heard about Horizon, I thought, well, all right, let's see what you guys can do. And man, did they do it.
Yep, indeed. All right. Well, thank you all for your participation in this very lengthy episode. I hope the listeners got a great look at the year and maybe remembered a few games they left off their lists, and get some games they're ready to purchase on sale, which is going now until the 4th of January. So go to Steam. You're going to get some really great purchases there. And before we leave, can you guys please tell me and tell the audience where they can get more of your internet antics? Let's start with Scott.
All right. You can find me at frogpants.com. All my stuff is there. And Scott Johnson on Twitter. Here's the other thing. If you're into live shows, and that's either podcasts or games or whatever, more and more, you can find me over at Frogpants TV, frogpants.tv. It'll take you straight to our Twitch channel. And always looking forward to seeing more faces there. And thanks for having me on, Patrick.
Always an immense pleasure and an honor. Joss.
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Plays. That's JOCE Plays. I stream quite often now. I'm up to about 4 to 5 days a week. So that's the best place to find me. And if you follow me on Twitter, then I tweet out when I'm going live with streams or podcasts. So go follow me there.
Plays. Excellent. We'll have, of course, all of the Twitter handles in the show notes. John, what about you?
Same sort of deal. Best place to find out what I'm up to is just follow me on Twitter at John_Jagger. You can also check me out on Twitch playing all sorts of games, twitch.tv/Revendon. I wish I could say I stream more, but mostly I just appear on other people's streams. That seems to be a thing. They don't have a partnership level for that though, so I'm gonna try to do more on my own. But yeah, Twitter's the best place to find out what podcasts or shows I'm guesting on.
Amazing. Ed.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Odysseus, and we stream every night over at 4pp.tv. That's 4playernetwork.com/live as well. And the Yeah, I mean, just keep an eye out on our YouTube page as well. Just after the start of the new year, we'll be putting out our top 10s for every staff member. That'll be about 7 videos in the community top 10, stuff like that. So if you want to see this list that I've given you a preview of in an actual order, since we're allowed to do it on our channel, then you can find it there.
Excellent. And for me, it's not Patrick on Twitter and Facebook. And you can find this show at FrenchSpin.com. Come on over and comment on the lists and the comments and the things we said. And you can tell us your own favorite games that we forgot. Possibly. There are so many. And, you know, between the Switch and all of those games, what an incredible, amazing year. And 2018 seems like it might be taking at least, you know, a few games that warrant the same kind of enthusiasm. So I'm very excited to see what's going to
make
happen.
a call, Patrick? Do you want to say, I mean, the historical day or year that everyone gives is 1998 for the greatest year of gaming, but do you think 2017 beat it?
I'd have to go back and look at 1998. I can't remember what came out that year exactly.
StarCraft, Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time, yeah.
Okay.
What else?
Half-Life, Baldur's Gate, yeah. Grim Fandango, Metal Gear Solid, StarCraft, Thief, Ocarina of Time.
It's a pretty
Resident
good
Evil
year.
2. You know, I think it's hard to say for sure, but because you always look back, and for me, people look back, as I said, with rose-colored glasses. I prefer the current stuff usually. And as much as I loved Metal Gear Solid, and God knows I loved it, I think I prefer this year. I think so. But, you know.
Also, technically, StarCraft came out this year as well.
So there you go. You can't go wrong. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Thanks to the co-host for being on, and we will talk to you soon. I might have to jumble around the schedule because I might be getting a baby fairly soon. I don't know when, but we'll see. But things are happening in that department. So
that's a weird way to put it. I might be getting a baby.
Well, I'm definitely getting a baby. I don't know how soon.
It's that easy, right? He just walks in one day.
Get a baby.
Has a baby.
Yeah, I get a baby. All right. Talk to you soon, everyone. Bye.